So let's start with a really big question. What if the tiny choices you make today, I mean the really small ones, that half-second decision, could completely rewrite your entire future?
Not somebody down the line?
No, not someday,
Yeah.
but starting right now, like in the next 5 minutes.
That's it. That's the promise, isn't it? It's almost electric when you really think about it. And
Yeah.
that's the central question driving this entire deep dive.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a promise of transformation, but, and this is the key part, it doesn't rely on some kind of superhuman willpower.
No heroic efforts needed.
None. It's about something much quieter, much more powerful, and, it's completely backed by the latest behavioral science.
And that's the core of it. We are dedicating this deep dive to the system that underpins that promise. Atomic habits.
A framework that has resonated with millions.
It has, because it offered a practical path. But today, we're going even deeper. We're showing you that this isn't just a popular self-help book. It is a meticulously constructed methodology.
Right.
We're talking about leveraging these tiny, consistent improvements, the atomic changes that compound. They compound exponentially over time into, honestly, massive and often unexpected success.
And our mission for you, the listener, is really sharp and targeted today. We are unpacking this entire system, this life operating environment.
A shortcut through all the noise.
Yes, exactly. We're going to break down the core principles, the famous 4 laws of behavior change, and we are going to integrate them directly with the latest supporting research.
And we mean latest. We're talking crucial findings from 2024 and 2025.
Findings that explicitly validate every single one of these foundational concepts. So you're getting the ultimate evidence-based blueprint for why the system works and how you can immediately start engineering your own environment for success. So to start, let's set the context. Why is a system like this so crucial right now?
Especially for anyone navigating modern life.
Particularly here in the United States. I mean, if you're living in this kind of fast, competitive environment, you know the reality. The pace is just relentless.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Expectations are high, and the big one, distractions.
We are absolutely saturated with them. Notifications, packed schedules, 247 information streams. They're just constantly fragmenting our attention.
And this constant bombardment, it feeds into a really destructive myth, doesn't it?
Which is?
The myth that success is defined by these huge bursts of motivation or some kind of heroic willpower. We're always told we just need more discipline.
Try harder.
Exactly. But the sources we've been reviewing, they paint a radically different picture. And frankly, a much more forgiving one.
It's a shift in focus.
A huge shift away from willpower and toward architecture. It's about the system you build around yourself.
Okay, so let's analyze that distinction then. If success isn't about being the most driven, the most motivated person in the room, what's the actual differentiator?
Well, the key distinction, and this is drawn from decades of behavioral science and synthesized perfectly in the Atomic Habits framework, is this. The people who achieve long-term, sustainable success, they are not necessarily the most motivated individuals. They're the people who have cultivated the best, most robust, and often the most invisible systems.
Invisible systems. I like that.
Because motivation, by its very nature, is a fleeting, unreliable emotion. It's a chemical state. It spikes, maybe after you listen to a deep dive like this one.
Right, you feel energized, ready to go.
But it dissipates so quickly. The moment life introduces friction, a tough Monday morning, an unexpected crisis, or just plain boredom is gone.
And that's the frustrating cycle we all know so well, isn't it? The New Year's resolution explosion of energy.
Oh, absolutely. The January 1st gym sessions.
You go hard for 2 weeks, and then life hits, motivation vanishes, and you crash right back to zero, and you feel even worse than when you started.
Precisely. Because motivation requires this constant, high-energy input. It's mentally exhausting. A system, on the other hand, relies on automating behavior.
It takes the decision-making out of it.
It does. It reduces the reliance on that finite resource we call willpower. James Clear, the creator of this methodology, he shows us how to build this essential behavioral infrastructure. It ensures that your success isn't dependent on your current emotional state. It depends on the superior daily operating environment you've set up for yourself.
So if you structure your environment correctly, the habit becomes almost automatic.
Yes. It transcends the need for sheer willpower because the path of least resistance becomes the desired path.
That concept, a superior daily operating environment, that's really powerful. It suggests the most critical battle isn't fought inside your head, wrestling with motivation.
It's fought outside your head.
In the design of your immediate physical and digital world.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, think about the U.S. context again. The competition, the speed of daily life. If you have to spend, say, 10 units of mental energy just deciding whether or not to start your most important habit of the day, you've already lost.
You've used up all your energy on the starting line.
You have. The system's goal is to reduce that cognitive load to 1 unit or less. You want to make the act of starting the habit as frictionless as possible.
So you can leverage inertia to carry you through the rest of it.
That's the whole game.
Okay, so if motivation is unreliable and systems are the foundation, what is the core scientific mechanism that allows these small, almost insignificant daily choices to actually translate into these monumental results?
Now we're getting to the engine room.
That link, that mechanical process of growth, that's what's so surprising. And it brings us directly to the famous 1% rule.
The 1% rule. It is the most famous and really the foundational pillar of the entire atomic habits philosophy.
It sounds so simple.
It is deceptively simple. It argues that small habits equal a big life because improvements don't just add up in a straight line.
They don't accumulate linearly?
No, they compound exponentially, exactly like compound interest works in your savings account.
Okay, we have to stop and actually run the numbers here because the math is so dramatic and it's completely counterintuitive.
It really is.
We tend to think of effort and reward as linear. You know, if I work 10% harder, I should get 10% better results.
That's our default way of thinking.
But tell us what happens when we apply that tiny marginal gain of just 1% improvement consistently every single day for 1 year.
The numbers are, well, they're staggering. If you manage to improve by just 1% daily for 365 days, you don't end up 3.65 times better, which is what linear thinking would predict.
That would still be pretty good.
It would be great. But it's not what happens. You actually become nearly 37 times better. Specifically, 37.78 times better by the end of that year.
37 times better. It defies our intuition, doesn't it?
It completely does.
Because we're always looking for these massive, immediate spikes in progress. And the first day, or even the first week of a 1% improvement, it feels meaningless. It feels like nothing is happening.
And that's where most people quit.
Right there.
And that's the psychological trap we have to talk about. It's called the plateau of latent potential.
Okay, break that down.
This concept explains why people quit in that messy middle. When you start improving by 1% for the first few weeks, or even the first couple of months, your effort seems wasted.
You're putting in the work, but you see almost zero visible results.
Zero. And it's incredibly discouraging. But this is because the early stages of compounding are invisible. They're happening beneath the surface, strengthening the foundation, reinforcing your identity, building momentum.
So when the results finally do appear, they feel sudden, like an overnight success.
But in reality, that breakthrough was the result of months of that tiny, invisible work finally crossing a critical threshold.
The hockey stick curve.
That's exactly what it is. And the contrast, this is equally crucial for you to internalize. It works in reverse.
The 1% decline.
Yes. If you slip just 1% every day, if you make a marginal decision that moves you backward, like procrastinating for 5 extra minutes or eating a slightly worse meal, you approach zero.
You don't just get a little worse.
You regress by about 97% over the course of a year. The math shows why these minor slips are so dangerous. It shows why the small choices we dismiss as insignificant on a Tuesday afternoon are fundamentally more critical than the massive, heroic efforts we plan for once a year.
So the core takeaways here are really about shifting our entire mindset.
Completely.
First, small is incredibly powerful, but its results are delayed. We have to learn to respect the process, not chase the immediate outcome.
That's number one, patience.
Second, small compounds. And that consistency, that daily vote for who you want to be, is what unlocks the exponential growth.
It's the daily repetition that matters.
And third, small transforms everything. It starts with your daily actions, and it ends up rewriting your core identity.
And this leads to a really essential analytical distinction. It's the difference between compounding behavior and compounding effort.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Most people, especially in America's competitive culture, they chase compounding effort.
Meaning they think they need to run 10 miles instead of 1.
Or work 14 hours instead of 8. They try to brute force their way to success. But this is completely unsustainable.
Yeah.
It leads directly to burnout.
Because compounding effort requires ever-increasing amounts of energy, right? It's just exhausting.
Exactly. But compounding behavior, that's different. It focuses on these tiny daily habits that actually become easier and more automatic over time.
Less friction.
Right. When behavior compounds, you are leveraging systems that require less mental friction and energy the longer you maintain them. The friction is all front-loaded into designing the system, not into the daily execution.
That's a huge shift.
It's the difference between achieving temporary goals and creating permanent lifestyle change.
So if the entire system is designed around these tiny compounding low-friction habits, we absolutely need to know for certain that this approach isn't just some clever psychological trick.
It has to be grounded in hard science.
Exactly. And that is why we dedicated a significant portion of this deep dive to validating the whole methodology with the latest behavioral science. We've established the theoretical power of the system, but now we're entering the evidence phase.
The proof.
Yes. These aren't just motivational theories, they are psychological principles that have been recently, in 2024 and 2025, confirmed by significant scientific studies.
And they demonstrate measurable, significant effects on human behavior.
So let's look at the concrete evidence that confirms the atomic habits methodology is, in fact, an accurate reflection of how our brains and bodies truly achieve transformation.
The last couple of years have delivered some really powerful scientific validation for this. It proves that these structured, systematic approaches to behavior modification yield reliably impressive results.
Okay, so where do we start? What's the first big piece of evidence?
Let's start with one of the most comprehensive pieces of recent evidence, a major 2024 habit formation meta-analysis.
A meta-analysis, so that's a study of studies, right?
Exactly. It synthesizes findings from dozens of studies across various behavioral domains, and it gives a definitive quantitative answer.
And what did it find?
The findings confirm that structural habit-building strategies, like the ones we're talking about, produced strong positive behavior change.
That's fantastic confirmation. But let's give the listener the concrete data point that really puts a stake in the ground. You mentioned an effect size.
I did.
Let's not just drop the number 0.69 without any context. What does that actually mean in the world of psychological research?
That's a crucial point. So the meta-analysis detailed an effect size of 0.69. In statistical measurements, particularly within psychology and social sciences, effect sizes are categorized. An effect size of, say, 0.2 is considered small, 0.5 is considered medium, and 0.8 or above is typically considered large.
So where does 0.69 fall?
It's a robust, medium to large effect. This is a very meaningful and substantial number. It indicates a powerful correlation between structured habit-building techniques and measurable outcomes.
So this isn't just theoretical success. This is quantifiable, reliable, significant success across broad populations.
Exactly. And the types of habits included in this meta-analysis were broad, which reinforces the universality of the approach.
What kind of habits?
Researchers looked at health behaviors like diet and exercise, financial literacy habits,
Consistent saving, budgeting.
things like that, and even cognitive habits like reading consistency or learning new skills.
So the conclusion for the listener is vital.
It is. Structured, small improvements, when you implement them using these consistent strategies, they truly work. They produce reliable, measurable change across almost every domain of human endeavor. The science confirms it.
Okay, so now let's tackle what might be the most damaging myth in all of personal development. The one that sets so many people up for failure.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
The idea that it only takes 21 days to form a habit.
The 21-day myth. It's so pernicious.
We've been hearing it since the 1960s, but recent research completely dismantles it, and understanding the real timeline is just critical for patients.
It really is. It's a pernicious myth because if you try a difficult habit, say quitting sugar or starting a serious workout routine, and you fail after 21 days, what do you conclude?
That I'm the problem. I lack willpower or discipline.
Exactly. The failure is unfairly attributed to a character flaw, when in reality, it was just an inaccurate expectation set by bad science. The brain science is clear. Habit automation takes significantly longer.
So if the 21-day timeline is fiction, what is the realistic, science-backed timeline we should expect for true behavioral automation?
The current, robust research shows that for most basic, moderate habits, things like remembering to take a vitamin or a simple daily meditation practice, It takes somewhere between 59 and 66 days to truly feel automatic.
59 to 66 days, that's 2 full months.
2 months of consistency before that behavior starts shifting from conscious effort to an automatic routine.
And if we're tackling the really hard habits, those behaviors that require breaking long-established negative patterns.
Or significantly higher mental effort.
Right, then the timeline stretches even further.
Absolutely. The findings for harder habits, like significant dietary changes, developing a complex new skill, or maintaining sobriety, these are even more revealing. They can take anywhere from 100 to 150 days to form.
Wow, 100 to 150 days.
We're talking 3 to 5 months of consistent, intentional effort before that behavior is deeply ingrained and truly low friction.
This recalibrates everything. If you expect a massive identity transformation in 3 weeks, you are inevitably going to quit during that frustrating plateau of latent potential we talked about.
You'll just misinterpret boredom as failure.
That's it.
And it links directly back to the importance of patience, repetition, and the concept of endurance. The brain needs this time. It needs time to physically restructure and solidify the neural pathways in the basal ganglia, which is the area responsible for automated behaviors.
So success is fundamentally defined by endurance.
By showing up every day, regardless of motivation. It's not a quick fix. And understanding this realistic 60 to 150-day window is just essential for avoiding burnout and maintaining the necessary momentum.
Okay, let's move into 2025. You mentioned a significant digital behavior study.
Yes, with a necessary focus on the high-tech, distraction-prone U.S. context. This study investigated the concept of environment design in the digital age.
So, how habit apps, reminders, and digital cues function to support or derail behavior change.
Exactly.
And this is critical. In the US, our environment is fundamentally digital now. Our physical world might be organized chaos, but our digital world is often a relentless torrent of demands.
So if the technology is the distraction, can it also be the cure?
That's the core question.
And the study found significant improvement across several vital domains when digital cues and reminders were intentionally used as part of the habit-building system.
What kind of improvements?
We saw marked increases in productivity, which is a major focus in a competitive environment where efficiency is key. Crucially, improvements were also noted in physical activity adherence.
So people actually followed through on their scheduled workouts.
It did. And on their complex daily routines, the digital tools, when they were properly engineered, drastically improved consistency levels across the board.
This links perfectly to James Clear's first law, make it obvious.
Perfectly.
It validates the idea that environment design isn't just about the physical world, putting a book on your pillow. It's just as much about engineering your digital landscape.
Yes. A specific app notification, a desktop wallpaper reminder, or a calendar blocker can act as that cue. It makes the habit visible in the space where our attention spends most of its time.
So you're leveraging the very technology that often causes the distraction.
And you're turning it into a structured tool that enforces consistency. Instead of having social media pull your attention with relentless arbitrary notifications, you intentionally program your phone to push a specific, non-negotiable cue for your desired habit.
You're fighting American notification fatigue with structure.
That's a great way to put it. You're minimizing the mental energy required to initiate the habit, which, as we've discussed, is a cornerstone of success.
Okay, this final piece of research is arguably the most fundamental. It confirms the deepest, most transformative layer of the entire methodology.
The identity level.
Yes. What did the 2025 Identity and Habits Loop study reveal about the relationship between who we are and what we do?
This is truly revolutionary. So new research confirms the well-accepted idea that your identity shapes your habits. That is, what you believe about yourself drives your actions.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the crucial confirmation here is the feedback loop. Your habits also dynamically shape your identity. It's a reciprocal, self-reinforcing relationship.
So it's a virtuous feedback cycle. Every time I perform a small, intentional action that aligns with the person I want to be, I'm not just completing a task.
You are literally casting a neurological vote for that identity. You're validating it in your own mind.
So every repetition strengthens the neural pathways and the self-perception associated with that identity.
Exactly. If you consistently show up to write even one sentence, you reinforce the identity of a writer. If you consistently choose water over soda, you reinforce the identity of a healthy person.
And the study confirms this is the strongest path for building long-lasting habits.
The strongest. It fundamentally shifts your motivation from achieving an external outcome to becoming a specific type of person.
That is a profound shift. Okay, so if all these principles are validated by this cutting-edge research, we now need the definitive instruction manual.
The how-to.
Yes. How do we take these abstract concepts of compounding and identity and build the practical architecture? We've established the why compounding works. We've established the when it takes 60 to 150 days. Now let's get into the practical how-to guide. The 4 laws of behavior change.
This is the user manual for designing your system.
They represent the 4 stages of the habit loop, right? Cue, craving, response, and reward.
That's right. And they're designed to make good habits easy and inevitable, and to make bad habits hard and invisible.
So these are the engineering principles for behavior.
They are. And you apply them in reverse for breaking bad habits, but for building good ones, they have to be followed sequentially. They seem simple, but their power comes from their deep roots in foundational behavioral psychology.
Let's start with Law 1.
Law 1, make it obvious.
Yeah.
The core principle here is to maximize the visibility of the cue. We have to design our physical and digital environments so that the desired habit becomes physically and mentally undeniable.
So this is all about cue management. The idea that your immediate environment is the trigger, not some abstract internal decision.
Precisely. If we rely on memory or willpower to initiate a habit, those resources, as we established, are highly unreliable.
Especially in our distraction-heavy lifestyle.
Right. Science confirms that environmental cues are the most potent triggers for action. So making it obvious involves a few critical strategies.
Let's start with the classic example, physical environment design.
Yes. This is about making sure your environment is optimized for the future action. If you want to take your medication, place the bottle directly next to the coffee maker. The existing routine, making coffee, cues the new behavior.
If you want to read, don't keep the book tucked away in a drawer.
No, you put it literally on your pillow. The barrier to entry for the new habit has to be as close to 0 as possible.
But the more advanced and maybe more powerful strategy here is what he calls habit stacking. Tell us how that works.
Habit stacking leverages your existing routine as the ultimate cue. The formula is really simple. After I current habit, I will new habit.
So you're attaching the new habit to an old one.
Exactly. It minimizes friction because the cue is already established and automatic. For example, after I close my laptop at 5:30 p.m., I will immediately change into my running clothes.
So closing the laptop is the automatic trigger.
Yes. No willpower is needed to decide when to start running. You're anchoring the new behavior to a stable existing pathway in your brain.
And as that 2025 digital behavior study confirmed, this law also applies powerfully to our technology.
Oh, absolutely. If you want to practice a language app every morning, you shouldn't leave the app buried on the 5th screen of your phone.
You make it obvious digitally.
Right. You move that app icon right onto your home screen, the most visible real estate you have. Or if you need to perform a financial habit, you program a scheduled, non-intrusive calendar reminder that pops up exactly when you're already doing something else.
You're engineering your cues to minimize the cognitive load.
That's the whole point. The ultimate goal here is to make the cues for bad habits invisible and the cues for good habits unavoidable.
So hide the remote, put the book on the couch.
Exactly. You add friction to the bad habit and remove it from the good one.
Okay, law 2. Make it attractive. This one addresses motivation from a neurochemical perspective, right?
It does. If Law 1 makes the habit visible, Law 2 makes it desirable. The core principle here is intelligently utilizing the powerful neurochemical dopamine for sustained motivation.
Dopamine is so misunderstood.
It really is. It's not the pleasure chemical, it's the anticipation chemical. It drives seeking behavior. We seek out what we anticipate will be rewarding.
So if a habit feels boring or difficult right now, we have to artificially inject the anticipation of reward into the process.
We do. And the primary practical application here is temptation bundling.
This is where you leverage a high-craving activity to make a necessary low-craving activity more appealing.
That's right. You pair the desired habit, which might be a bit boring or high effort, with something genuinely enjoyable that you already look forward to doing. The classic example is pairing exercise with entertainment.
I will only allow myself to watch my favorite streaming series while I'm on the treadmill.
Exactly. The anticipation of the show makes the treadmill attractive.
Okay, let's use a non-obvious example. For a professional in a competitive U.S. job market where you have these complex, tedious tasks like compliance reports.
That's a great one. A great application would be linking a complex, low-craving professional task to a specific high-craving ritual. Let's say you struggle to organize your digital files, but you love listening to a specific genre of music.
Or a really high-end coffee blend that you only make once a week.
Perfect. You would mandate, I will only drink my limited edition single origin coffee while I organize my quarterly compliance reports. You're creating a premium experience for the boring task.
So the brain is essentially tricked into associating the effort with the reward.
You're leveraging the brain's natural reward mechanism to drive you toward the desired action.
Yeah.
This law ensures the habit loop has enough emotional weight to overcome the initial resistance.
Okay, on to law 3. Make it easy. This one feels the most counterintuitive.
It is. It's often the most critical for consistent long-term application. The core principle is aggressively reducing friction and focusing exclusively on the starting ritual, not the end result.
But we're conditioned to believe that big results require big, painful, effortful actions. The system suggests the opposite. Minimize effort to maximize consistency. It sounds like cheating.
It does, and that's a powerful and common objection. But the system is designed to bypass the need for grit at the initiation stage. When we talk about reducing friction, we're not suggesting you avoid the hard work. We're just focusing on overcoming the inertia, the immense difficulty of starting.
And this is where the 2-minute rule comes in.
The foundational concept. The 2-minute rule mandates that any new habit, no matter how ambitious, should first be scaled down until it can be completed in 2 minutes or less.
So if you want to write a novel, the habit isn't write a chapter.
It's write one sentence. If you want to get into shape, the habit isn't run 5 miles.
It's put on my running shoes.
Exactly. The goal is not to achieve the outcome of the habit in 2 minutes. The goal is to master the initiation, the entry point.
Because the act of starting is often the hardest part.
It is. It requires overriding all the resistance our minds generate. By reducing the task to near zero resistance, the mere act of opening the book or putting on the shoes, you guarantee follow-through. Once you've overcome inertia, momentum takes over.
It's easier to keep writing once the laptop is open than it is to open the laptop in the first place.
That's effortlessness engineering. And this is particularly effective in a high-demand, competitive environment where people often suffer from decision fatigue.
The last thing you want after a long day is another monumental decision.
Precisely. Law 3 simplifies everything. You want to make the desired behavior the absolute easiest option available to you. You want it to require less energy to do the habit than to successfully avoid the habit.
And that's the key to consistency, because you can always do the 2-minute version, even on your worst, most chaotic day.
Always.
Finally, Law 4 is what closes the behavioral loop. Make it satisfying.
If the first 3 laws get you to start the habit, this final law is the insurance policy that ensures you actually repeat it tomorrow.
The core principle is leveraging the reward system to cement the behavior.
And this is so critical because of the inherent problem with many beneficial habits. They suffer from delayed gratification.
Right. When you save money, you don't see the massive retirement fund immediately. When you exercise once, you don't see a six-pack.
But your brain is wired for immediate rewards. If the payoff is delayed, the behavior is unlikely to be repeated.
So we have to artificially inject an immediate hit of positive reinforcement. We have to signal to the brain, repeat this action, it felt good.
Absolutely. The reward must be immediate, positive, and ideally visible. It doesn't have to be a massive physical reward, but it has to be an instant psychological win.
Like tracking the habit on a calendar.
Yes. Visibly marking off a win with a bright X or using a habit app, which we know from that 2025 research, significantly improves consistency levels.
That visual streak, seeing a chain of success, provides the instant, satisfying feedback loop.
It creates what's called the habit tracker effect. Every time you mark that task complete, you get a small, immediate dose of satisfaction and pride. You are transforming an abstract, long-term reward into a concrete, immediate reward.
And this final law connects back powerfully to the identity principle we talked about earlier.
It does. The act of tracking the habit is also the act of casting another vote for your desired self.
You're proving to yourself through visible evidence that you're the type of person who maintains their commitments.
Precisely. That small hit of satisfaction from the check mark is actually the brain rewarding itself for reinforcing the desired identity.
Okay, so the 4 laws are the operating system for action. But we have to return to the deepest layer, the engine that drives true, lasting longevity.
Identity change. This is the difference between a temporary life hack and a permanent lifestyle transformation.
We talked briefly about the identity loop confirmed by the 2025 research, but let's go deeper. Let's use the vivid analogies from the source material to illustrate this powerful inversion of perspective.
It's a complete inversion of how most people approach change. Most people use an outcome-based approach. I want to lose 30 pounds, or I want to earn more money. The goal is external.
Right.
This system, however, starts at the deepest level, the identity level. You shift the focus from what you are trying to achieve to who you are trying to become.
And this shift in focus changes the purpose of the action itself.
Absolutely. When you adopt an identity-based approach, the action is no longer a means to an end. It becomes an end in itself. You don't try to read using willpower to struggle through a chapter.
You consciously and consistently strive to become a reader.
And a reader reads because that's simply what their self-image dictates. The action aligns perfectly with the belief.
So the reading isn't about finishing the book. It's about proving I am a reader. The training isn't about running the marathon. It's about proving I am a runner.
Correct. And the act itself transforms from a burden into a validation. The difference in psychological burden is immense. When you try to force an outcome, every setback is a failure. When you are proving an identity, every small action, every single vote is a success.
Regardless of the immediate result.
Exactly.
This sounds almost philosophical, but the 2025 research confirmed this is the strongest path. Why is that identity-first approach so much more resilient?
Because it fundamentally solves the motivation problem. When identity comes first, actions follow automatically because the behavior is intrinsically tied to your sense of self-worth and purpose.
You stop seeing training as something you have to do.
And you start seeing it as something you get to do because it reinforces who you are. This intrinsic motivation is durable. It doesn't run out of fuel.
So when you encounter a challenge, you don't ask, do I feel motivated today?
You ask, what would a runner do in this situation? Or a writer, or a saver? The answer is automatic.
Hearing these principles and the research laid out provides the instruction manual, but demonstrating momentum is crucial. I think sharing a brief, illustrative case study might help.
Yeah, let's see the system in action.
So when I first tried to establish a daily writing routine, my approach was completely outcome-based, high friction, and motivation-dependent.
The classic mistakes.
All of them. I tried to write for a mandatory hour every morning, which was a monumental commitment. Predictably, it failed very quickly.
Of course.
Then I applied the 4 laws. I transformed the environment and the expectation. First, I made it obvious and easy. I stopped aiming for an hour.
The 2-minute rule.
I instituted the 2-minute rule. The habit was simply to sit down and write one single sentence. I made it obvious by setting up the computer and leaving the writing document open the night before.
Eliminating the decision to start.
Exactly. I even changed the laptop's default screensaver to a motivating writing cue, linking back to what we learned from the 2025 digital study.
So you drastically reduced the cognitive load. What happened when you only committed to that single sentence?
That was the secret. Because I focused on the entry point, I overcame the inertia. If I only intended to write one sentence, I often found myself writing 5 or 10, sometimes more.
Yes, because you'd gotten started.
Right. The productivity increased naturally, not by forcing the action, but by engineering the environment to allow the action to flow. Distractions also dropped naturally because the environment was designed to only cue that desired habit.
And you maintained consistency.
I did, through the difficult middle months, because I understood the scientific truth. Habits take 60 to 100 days. I gave myself grace to only write one sentence on the bad days, knowing that just maintaining the streak was the true win.
And the outcome of this consistent low-friction application, particularly regarding your identity.
Well, the small wins compounded into a profound shift in identity. I stopped trying to write and simply became someone who writes every day. It didn't feel like pressure, which is the inevitable byproduct of high motivation.
It felt like momentum.
It felt like momentum, which is the natural byproduct of a well-engineered system. And that psychological shift from pressure to momentum is the key difference between temporary change and permanent, durable transformation.
That personal application emphasizes precisely why we believe every listener, especially those navigating the competitive pressures of modern life, should engage deeply with these concepts.
The sources clearly establish the utility.
It's a powerful, validated tool backed by robust psychology and recent research, designed to help you achieve specific, measurable goals without relying on willpower.
Specifically, if you want to finally build resilient routines or break those bad, deeply ingrained habits that hold you back.
If you want to significantly improve your self-discipline without experiencing burnout, or simply create a better lifestyle and upgrade your mindset.
This is the definitive blueprint.
And we need to reiterate, this framework is not motivation. It is a scientifically validated behavioral operating environment.
So connecting this all back to the initial promise and the ultimate takeaway.
Massive success, whether you're striving in America's fast-paced environment or aiming for global achievement, doesn't come from massive, sporadic, high-effort bursts. It comes from tiny, intentional daily habits that compound over time, making you nearly 37 times better year after year.
Small steps.
Small wins.
Big transformation. And that brings us to the close of this intensive deep dive into the extraordinary scientifically validated power of atomic habits and the principles of compounding behavior. We really appreciate you exploring these foundational sources and the cutting-edge research with us today.
Before we conclude, we want to offer one final, provocative thought for you to consider, based directly on the material we covered. If we accept the scientific reality that true habit formation, especially for the hardest behaviors, requires 100 to 150 days of consistent effort, a commitment spanning nearly 5 months, what is the single hardest habit you are willing to start today?
Not the one you wish for.
No, but the one you're willing to commit to for that long, necessary window of consistent, low-friction repetition.
Take that commitment, design your environment using the 4 laws, and remember that change happens one small habit, one single vote for your desired identity at a time.